Arizona Cardinals in town this weekend for week one of a sold-out, star-studded affair at FedEx Field. What a sentence that is. And every part of it is true. First of all, the Cardinals are here. That part's pretty easy. That could have happened in the past. But sold out, that's new. Star-studded, Champ Bailey, the Hall of Famer, coming back. John Riggins coming back. Obviously, Magic Johnson, as part of the ownership group, will be at the stadium. Mitchell Rail sent his plane to Florida to pick up Sonny Jurgensen and Billy Kilmer. It is going to be a who's who that really gets to the heart of what the theme will be this weekend at FedEx Field, which is welcome home. The hype around this game is different, and I am thoroughly excited. Now feels as good a time as any to just admit to the audience something that's a real bummer on a personal level, which is I can no longer go to the game because your boy's sitting at home with the COVID wave having gotten me. So I'm stuck in the house for the weekend and into early next week, which blows because I was looking forward to going to FedEx Field. And that is something that I quite literally thought I would never say again. I was last at FedEx Field in 2019 when I was on the beat. And once I knew by the end of that season that I was not going to be back for another year. It was my choice. And obviously, as people know, like the trajectory my career took, obviously now back with the stations and really happy to be doing this daily show every day. But I just figured I would never, maybe there would be a time where I would go back for something. But I never really planned on wanting to go back. And that's changed now. And I'll tell you right now, bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be there for week 3. I want to go to a game, even at that dump, even though the stadium's still FedEx Field, even though it's still going to suck to get there, even though getting home is going to be a disaster, even with all that stuff. I've just heard for so long what the old RFK used to be. And I know that this is not going to be that. But what's it like to be in a stadium where, to the extent that as a media person I root, the team that I am rooting for is the one that everyone else in the stadium is rooting for because I want them to win because it's just my job's better and easier. It's a different kind of root than a fan, I would say. Certainly, it's completely personal and selfish. But I definitely would like to see the Commanders win every single weekend. And I want to see what that's like in Washington. I grew up in the Carolinas, and my parents were season ticket holders, and I've been to plenty of Panthers games and big ones, and the atmosphere there is good. I didn't grow up too far from Clemson. I've been to a couple of games at Clemson, and the atmosphere there is incredible. College football, obviously provides a kind of a different kind of atmosphere. Been to games at Lane Stadium at Va-Tech, that's sick. When they play Enter Sandman, the whole deal. But there's something special about when you follow a team every single day. And it's one thing to experience the atmosphere as a neutral or as someone with some kind of moderate interest. But I think it's, with the level of interest that I obviously have from doing this every day, I'm excited as much as would be about me if I was able to go, as I was planning to. It's really an excitement for the fans and for the people that I get to interact with on this show and have been as a beat reporter for all those years and as a radio host in this town for now. This is year 8 for me. A place that I call home in DC and don't plan on moving from, probably for the rest of my life. If I have my choice about it, we want to be here and raise our family here. This is something that is, personal in that way, that this is for the city. And it's why I've appreciated the way Josh Harris, who is, was born here, of here, the way he's talked about this. This is going to be a celebration of something new. And I think that was one of the lone remaining questions I had. And I feel like I pretty much have it answered, which is, was this going to be a celebration that the old thing was over, or that the new thing is beginning? And it's a blurred line. It's a gray area. It's not black and white. But I do feel like this is as much a celebration of the new thing beginning and many parts of the old thing returning, the pre-Snyder, feelings about the franchise with all these legends coming back, that this is just going to be special. And I think it's, very, very cool that Fox has Mark Schlereth calling the game. And when Stink joined me on Take Command on Wednesday, he talked about how this is not just from like a fan emotional standpoint, but kind of from a like professional football standpoint, a welcome back moment to the NFL for the Washington franchise.
I think it's huge. To me, it's welcome back to the National Football League, Washington Commanders. It was we missed you. It's nice to have you back, and to get the love and just the sense of how important this is to just the Commander faithful, to all the people who were a fan of the Washington football team, the Redskins, and now the Commanders. It's really cool, and there's this feeling for me of the Wizard of Oz. For those of you who don't remember the movie, the old time movie, when Dorothy kills the Wicked Witch of the West, and then all the henchmen of the Wicked Witch of the West line up and just say, "All hail Dorothy." They start marching around. They get all excited about it. And that's how I feel about the demise of Daniel Snyder. Like, everybody is like, thank goodness we get to root for our favorite team again.
And, all hail Josh Harris, because he's the one who dropped the house on the Wicked Witch. I mean, he didn't really. He just he bought the house. The Melanie Coburns and Megan Imberts of the world, or Congress, are kind of the ones that brought down the house, if you will. But Josh Harris bought it, and he's done a good job taking care of it ever since. And so I'm very excited, and it's something that gives juice to the franchise too, internally, like juice to forget the franchise and talking about kind of this larger grand thing. It gives juice to the actual football team. Ron Rivera today was asked about this and what it's going to be like having guys like John Riggins back in the house. Riggins, who, by the way, hated Snyder and wouldn't have been seen anywhere within miles of FedEx Field if he was still the owner.
It would be great to see Riggo. I mean, he's one of the really truly iconic. It'd be great to have all the Hogs back. I mean, those are some very iconic players. These are guys that were here back in the heyday that made made the name for this organization, and if you look at it, that period from the 80s all the way to the early 90s, that was the peak of Washington football. And we would love to have that type of excitement and the type of environment around here, and it would be really cool to be able to see those guys, come by and just show the guys kind of what it means.
I think, first of all, the only way to get that to continue in the long term is to win. The reason those guys are so celebrated is because they won. Straight up. Obviously, Cooley, Portis, Santana, those guys are celebrated because they're the best that's been had in the last 25 years of the team. And I certainly hope that a guy like Trent Williams can come back one day and feel that same love. But at the end of the day, they're not revered in the way that Art Monk is revered in the way that, the Hogs are revered in the way that, B. Mitch is revered, because these guys are multiple-time Super Bowl champions, and there's just nothing like that. And one thing that I think feels different to me, as someone who, again, admittedly was not around, I wasn't alive for some of those Super Bowl victories. Nevertheless, an active fan living in the area, or even like a 4-year-old fan living in the area. So I'm not pretending to put myself in the shoes of so many of you listening. But when I got here in 2015 and they'd march some of those old players out, and it was always awkward because it felt cheap, because everything this organization did felt cheap. And there was the obvious, like, hey, there's a lot of important people missing. What's up? Oh, man, they really don't like this guy. And, like, if you follow the league, you knew it wasn't surprising. But it was obvious. And now to see everyone coming back, to see the holes filled in, and to see everything done right, it feels like this is appropriate. And the reverence is there at a level that it should be for legends in this game of this magnitude. We can talk about what it means for them to win on Sunday. And we will. We'll talk more about the game next. But in some ways, you can't lose. They've already won, because this ownership group has almost instantly taken such tremendous steps to truly restore the glory of what was a once proud franchise and now very much can be again.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.